So it's on my mind to speak to you all about practical topics right now. And because relationships are so important, my brothers and sisters, that's one of the main things that keep people all jacked up, where they can't even serve God right because their heart is just broken. And that's why the Word of God says that we're to guard our hearts with all diligence, for out of it flows the issues of life. So your relationships with your family, friends, loved one, fellow believers are very important. But at the same time, you have to be able to make those tough decisions if and when the situation is beginning to hurt you. You see, a lot of times people, they expect you to love and to respect them and to treat them right. They expect that from you. But you know what? It's an option for them when it comes to you. And so I want to talk with you all about relationships. You know, I'm going to say for both men and women, this topic applies. But as I'm a woman, that's all I know. But this will apply for both. Ladies and gentlemen, stop settling. Stop staying in these relationships where you're being broken down, you're being tormented, because that's what it is. You know, when someone promises you something, does something else. I'll never forget something I heard from the late Dr. Miles Monroe. A person of poor character tells you something today, does something else tomorrow, and promises you something else. A person of low character will promise you something today, tell you something today, do something else tomorrow, and promise you something else. And this is what you find in relationships that are toxic, and you find in relationships that are unhealthy. You see, the enemy has to put a distorted view of you in your own mind. And when he does that, that's how he allows you to be able to see yourself through shattered pieces. And so you just take anything from anyone. You see, to love and patience and all that good stuff and forgiveness and all of that stuff is right with the right person, with the correct person. But what would you do? What do you do when you're with a person where all those things are just being used up in large increments in a short space of time? When you're forgiving constantly, when you're forgiving a person, you know, within every 30, 60 days, you're going through something with that person. Every other week, you're going through something where your forgiveness and your kindness and your patience is being exercised, and where you're sticking it out, and where you're believing them, where your sense of self, where your sense of being who you are is challenged. When you go from being confident and understanding to becoming suspicious and touchy. You understand that, and you're blamed for it. How can you be the same? How are you expected to be the same? For those of you who your approach to relationships have always been healthy, and then guess what? Something happens, right? So how can you be normal when you're with a person who's hot today, cold tomorrow? Someone who claims to love you, but they hurt you. Someone who says, I'm telling you the truth, but turns around and does something that's a lie. How could someone love you and someone else at the same time? How could they be sleeping in your bed and sleeping in someone else's bed at the same time? How could they be married to you but have someone on the side? How could they be telling you to trust me, I'm sorry, but then they're sneaking off to use a phone? They're sneaking off to go across town to be with someone else. How can they say, I'll never do it again, and do it again? And when you find out and you're up and down, that's a problem. And they know they're wrong, but they're angry at you for having a problem. But they're sorry, but they do it again. How can you be normal when you are with someone that says, I'm sorry, but does the very same thing that they say that they're sorry for? No, I'm not doing that, but you discover they are doing it, and they defend what they were doing that they told you they weren't doing in the beginning. Do you see how confusing that is? This is the type of person that you're trying to keep up with. But then they turn around and may just call you crazy and say that you're this and that, when in fact you are in love with a crazy person, because they are the one that's going up and down, and because you love them and you're following them, you are simply going in the pattern in which they conduct themselves. You see, when you're with someone that's stable, when you're with a person that their yes is yes and their no is no, then you don't have to worry about that type of stuff. You don't have to be going up and down. But guess what? Some people are just who they are. Your feelings of forgiveness and love, your love is precious. Your love is an opportunity. To love you is an opportunity. And if you start to see yourself through those eyes, then you won't accept just anything else. You won't be okay drinking spilled milk. You just learn how to sift out the dirt. You understand? You learn that you can have more as you see yourself through Christ's eyes. So let go of those things that are broken. You're like, it's hard. No, it's hard because you make it hard. You know, I understand some of you may have situations, but is anything possible with God? Yes, it is. There's some of you, you don't have kids with a person. You don't have property with a person. You just are staying there. And for those that you have a child, you have property, you have things, let me tell you something. God can make a way of escape for you. You just have to be willing. You just have to be consistent in getting before him, fast if you need to, and get before the Lord so that he can lead you out. Guys, let me tell you something. People that are up and down, back and forth, they say this today, this is this today, and tomorrow is something else. The next hour is different. They tell you one thing today and they're doing something else. Is an unstable person. They're double-minded. You don't want to be with a person who is like a city without walls. A person that has no control over their soul. They can tell you, I'm sorry, but they don't know what they're going to do tomorrow because they have no control over their spirit. It's like a city without walls. Anybody could come in and out. And guess what? It doesn't matter how much that person has given you. That person can give you the world, can give you everything. Imagine being in a house and that person give you the finest things, the nicest things, the sweetest things. But guess what? There is no roof and there's no door and there's no lock. What does that mean? Any and anything can come in. You're subject to the elements and to the changes, and anyone can come in. You don't want that type of relationships. You think about it in the natural. What would that mean for everything around you if you don't have a roof on the top of your house? If you don't have a door to lock? If you just have what looks like windows, but actually you can walk right in? Would you live there? Would you secure what's valuable there? So why do you do that with a person who's like a city without walls? Listen, it's easier said than done, but it can be done. Anything is possible through Christ. Step out into the newness of Christ. And more than anything, you want your mind and your heart to be stable so you can focus on the things of God. A lot of times people just sit there thinking about this man, this woman. But you know what? You have a purpose. Stop being with a person that keeps you from your purpose, keeps you in bondage and paranoia and pain. Because you see, your paranoia and your anger and your ugly attitude, it comes from pain. It comes from being exposed to habitual pain and habitual disappointment. You're not crazy. You're not less than. You loved. That's what you did. You trusted the wrong person. You trusted a broken person. You trusted someone that's lost themselves. So forgive them. It's easier said than done, but confess it out of your mouth and ask the Lord to help your heart to line up so that he can set you free and you can move forward and he can truly show you who you are. All right, guys? Bye.